on the news. It's a unique partnership that's a win-win for both. Preschoolers from Bay Ridge Catholic Academy are already thinking about college with a little help from St. Francis College. Plus,
he was so instrumental in helping us with the ongoing development of pop housing.
Honoring Bishop Emeritus Nicholas DiMarzio, Catholic Charities Brooklyn and Queens dedicates one of its buildings in his name. Then get ready to dig a little deeper into your wallet. Inflation numbers are through the roof, the largest jump in decades. But this will make your day.
And they're going to Super Bowl!
Die-hard fans, Sister Mary Mediatrix cheering on her beloved Cincinnati Bengals and praying for a Super Bowl win this Sunday. I'm Christine Persichetti. Current News starts right now. How soon should a student start preparing for college? High school, maybe 7th or 8th grade? Well, what about in kindergarten? Now, kids as young as 5 will get to see what their futures look like with the launch of a partnership between Bay Ridge Catholic Academy and St. Francis College. Current News' Jessica Easthope has the story.
Wow. These preschoolers already know what they want to be when they grow up. Proof that it's never too early to start thinking about the future. So why not think about college? That's the goal of this new partnership between Bay Ridge Catholic Academy and St. Francis College.
You can't start too early, getting them to think about what their dreams are, getting them again focused on the importance of being of service to others.
Educators from both schools say it's a win-win. Student volunteers and student teachers from St. Francis College will come to Bay Ridge Catholic Academy to run an after-school program, a summer science program, and teach foreign language classes to all grades. And students from Bay Ridge Catholic will get the chance to get on campus for field trips to science and communication labs at St. Francis.
We are constantly seeking opportunities for our students to go out into the community to make a difference. This partnership allows us to do that.
There is a whole thrust in college readiness, so this is a perfect opportunity.
The unique collaboration is completely free, something new principal Gary Williams said was a dream come true.
This is just a gift from heaven. Children are going to benefit from the role models that these students are going to serve to be, to have a clearer picture of what their future might be.
Every single 8th grader at Bay Ridge Catholic got into the Catholic high school of their choice. But now this allows them to see the future of a faith-based education beyond that.
Right? Why wouldn't we engage? It's an educational institution, a Catholic institution that shares our values. My view is to uplift all those communities.
Students from St. Francis College will get their first chance to engage with the younger generation at Bay Ridge Catholic starting in March.
1, 2,
Jessica Easthope. Current News.
Catholic Charities Brooklyn and Queens held a special dedication Thursday for Brooklyn's Bishop Emeritus. The Pierpont residence in Brooklyn now being called the Bishop Nicholas DiMarzio residence. The agency decided to rename the building in honor of Bishop DiMarzio's 18 years as an advocate for the poor, immigrants, seniors, and affordable housing. Monsignor Alfred Lapinto, the president and CEO of Catholic Charities Brooklyn and Queens, says his work is vital.
His encouragement, his enthusiasm, and his involvement was critical to a growing pop development.
Well, truly, one of the major issues we face here in New York City and Brooklyn and Queens is housing. I mean, it's just not enough housing, enough affordable housing for people that want to live here. And we see people getting pushed out every day one way or another. So the more we could do to supply housing, the better we have for the future of the city and for the church here, especially our own people. We don't distinguish just having it for Catholics. We make it available to everyone. And it's just a service that we really should do because housing is so important to life. Without housing, you really can't have family, you can't have a home, which is so important.
The idea that people and families are being priced out of their own homes, out of their own neighborhoods, is of great concern. And that has an impact on our parish life because the people who make up the parish, the people who really contribute to the vibrancy of the life of the parish, they're finding themselves either having to move out or families are doubling up. It's a critical issue.
The building is one of Catholic Charities' 23 low-income housing options for seniors throughout Brooklyn and Queens. New inflation numbers are out now, and it's worse than economists thought. The consumer price index jumped almost 8% over the last 12 months, making it the worst annual price increase in 40 years. Chris Wynn reports with the details.
Across the country, prices are rising faster than they have in nearly 4 decades, causing more anxiety among many Americans, including small business owners who are trying to manage.
For me, it's just hurting us more as a business individual than having it passed to them and hurting them more, because the way things are.
The U.S. Consumer Price Inflation Index rose 7.5% over the past year before seasonal adjustments. That's the steepest climb in prices since the year ending in February of 1982, according to data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics.
I'm going to work like the devil to bring gas prices down, which I'm going to working to make sure that we keep strengthening the supply chains to bring the cost of energy and everything else and the goods that come to America down by opening the ports 24/7, by changing a whole range of things.
Prices went up across the board last month, including for housing, furniture, used cars, and healthcare. The increases even worse than economists had predicted. But the president's advisors maintain the situation will improve this year.
What the forecasts tell you is that the job market should stay tight and get even tighter, supporting wage growth while inflation decelerates, while it slows.
Relief that can't come soon enough for consumers.
Hopefully they will understand, because this is not just happening to our facility, it's happening all over.
In Washington, I'm Chris Wynn.
A Biden administration rule that allows clinics that refer for abortions to receive federal family planning funding will stay in place for now. That from a federal court judge who denied the requests from 12 states to halt the rule. The states are suing to reinstate the Trump administration's Protect Life rule, which separated family planning clinics and abortion services. The Biden rule will stay in effect pending the outcome of the lawsuit. Pope Francis is expressing his support for retired Pope Benedict XVI. The Holy Father penned a letter to his predecessor where he, quote, expressed once again his complete trust, his full support, and also his prayers to the former pontiff. The letter follows a report commissioned by the Catholic Church that concluded Pope Benedict mishandled abuse cases when he was Archbishop of Munich decades ago. Benedict has denied any wrongdoing. In the meantime, church historian Father Roberto Regoli says Pope Benedict will be remembered positively for the actions he took to combat abuse within the church.
He didn't look away. He started condemning the religious responsible, founders of religious organizations, initiated new canonical procedures for prosecuting abusers. He was the first pope to meet with victims and to even cry with them.
Again, Pope Benedict asked for forgiveness for his shortcomings and has denied any wrongdoing. In other news from the Vatican, Pope Francis will travel to Malta in early April. The 2-day apostolic journey will include visits to several main island cities, as well as the island of Gozo. It will be the first foreign trip of the year for the Holy Father. He was supposed to visit the island nation in 2020, but the trip was put off because of the pandemic. Francis may also visit an immigration reception center housing migrants from Africa. And as Pope Francis continues to pray for Ukraine, the situation is being called the most dangerous moment for NATO in decades. Ukrainian forces in the nation's eastern region are constantly aware that Russian forces are close, armed, and ready to move in. Alex Marquardt traveled to the cold, desolate area and filed this report.
Flying low over the Ukrainian countryside, this Soviet-era military plane heads toward the border with Russia. We traveled here with senior Ukrainian officials and military leaders to get a sense of the mood and preparations where Russian troops are the closest, near Ukraine's eastern Donbas region. This is Avdiivka, where many of these Ukrainian troops, who are mostly young men, have been fighting Russian-backed forces on this cold and desolate front. Go. They're eager to show us how they've been living and fighting here in a conflict involving Russia that has been largely forgotten, but which has taken over 14,000 lives in the past 8 years, according to the United Nations. Ivan has been here the whole time. Like the other soldiers here, he says they're confident they could face a new Russian invasion.
Of course, we're ready for some bad situation, and we wait here. Do you think that will happen, this bad situation?
I'm not, but I don't know, because I don't know what in the head of the guys in that territory.
But for you, the war has already started.
Of course.
We're taken to the farthest point forward, where sandbags and tires are piled high. Then,
so there was just a burst of what sounded like automatic gunfire. We are just 70 meters, we are told, from the fighters on the other side of the front line.
We're rushed away, our escorts keen for us to see what happens, but not too closely.
Hearing this gunfire and being so close to this front line, you can't help but think that even if diplomacy succeeds in preventing Russia from invading Ukraine yet again, this fighting, which has been raging since the last time Russia invaded Ukraine, will almost certainly continue.
NATO leaders say that ending the fighting already happening here is a critical part of preventing further Russian aggression. With NATO so far refusing to send troops to Ukraine to fight, Ukraine insists it needs more help.
But the important issue, what they need, is additional weapons assistance from the West, from our Western allies, potentially financial assistance. That's what we need to make sure that we will defend not only peace in this country, but peace in Europe.
As if to punctuate their point, more gunfire rings out.
That was Alex Marquardt reporting. Meanwhile, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson traveled to Poland in a show of support for NATO. He described the situation as, quote, the most dangerous moment in its biggest security crisis in decades. For his part, the NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg tweeted NATO's continued support for Ukraine and called on Russia to de-escalate and pursue the path of dialogue to find a peaceful solution. There's a lot more news headed your way. COVID rules leading to road rage, truckers and other protesters in Canada stopping traffic to stop COVID restrictions. Now convoys are being organized in the U.S. Plus, police, firefighters and teachers in the Big Apple are saying enough is enough. They're suing the city because of vaccine mandates. And a close call at the crosswalk. A Maryland police officer stops what could have been a high-speed hit. The pandemic may be waning, but the problems it's created just keep coming. Some of the issues aren't just about the virus. There is anger and disagreement over how to handle it, and now truckers are jumping into the fray. Amy Kiley reports.
COVID-19 cases and hospitalizations are dropping overall in the U.S., but our pandemic problems aren't over yet. You know those convoys disrupting travel between the U.S. and Canada? Truckers might be planning one around the Super Bowl. That's according to the Department of Homeland Security. Truckers and other protesters in Ottawa, Canada say they're stopping traffic there to stop vaccination requirements and COVID restrictions.
If we don't make any changes now, we're going to lose all freedom.
I even made and sold masks at the beginning of this. But you know what? When you keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, that's the definition of insanity.
The convoys threaten to worsen supply chain issues. Meanwhile, states like New York are trying to get back to normal.
It is the right decision to lift this mandate for indoor businesses.
The CDC is more cautious.
We are working on that guidance. Our hospitalizations are still high. Our death rates are still high. We are not there yet.
But some experts say we could be on our way.
I think we're moving from pandemic to endemic. I think what it's going to boil down to in the end is what level of disease or what level of hospitalization or what level of death we're willing to live with.
I'm Amy Kiley reporting.
Meanwhile, President Biden's vaccine mandate for federal employees won't be reinstated. That's the word from a federal appeals court, which is reviewing a lower court's order putting it on hold. That could set the stage for the case to go to the Supreme Court. The mandate, which applied to some 3.5 million workers, required full vaccination by the end of November. Last month, a federal judge in Texas blocked enforcement of the requirement. In New York City, several municipal unions, including police, firefighters, and teachers, are suing the city to keep unvaccinated workers from losing their jobs. Friday is the deadline for city workers to get the jab or get fired. That could mean some 4,000 people will lose their jobs. That's less than 1% of the city workforce, but it could be the largest worker reduction in the nation tied to a vaccine mandate. Now to a hero police officer in Maryland who used her own body to protect a child from being hit by a speeding car that failed to stop in the crosswalk. And as Lowell Melser shows us, it was all caught on camera.
If you ask Corporal Annette Goodyear about her actions in this crosswalk last Friday, she'll tell you it was just instinct. Many people are calling those actions heroic, including the child that she saved from almost being hit by a car.
At that point, you're not thinking at all, you're just reacting.
The video is startling. It shows Corporal Annette Goodyear giving the okay for Northeast Middle School student Violet Watt to cross the street after telling an oncoming car to stop. But the car plows into the intersection and Goodyear risks her own life to shove the child out of the way to safety.
By the time she was in front of me, I twisted my head a little. I could see out of the corner of my eye that the car was coming. At that point, it was just a blur.
Days after the incident, Corporal Goodyear is opening up about the frightening experience.
When I hit the ground, my first instinct was to find Violet, so I lifted my head up and looked around and I saw her standing there. At that point, I knew, I was like, okay, now I gotta make sure I'm okay.
Corporal Goodyear was taken to the hospital and Violet sent home unharmed.
Thank you. No. Oh, thank you.
While Violet was at a loss for words, her aunt tells us that she's beyond grateful and didn't expect all of the worldwide attention.
So when we got home, we just had a normal, relaxing day. It was just a normal day, and until it blew up on Facebook. Yes, until it blew up. And then I told Violet, I think this was going to be a bigger deal than we thought.
Neither did Corporal Goodyear.
But I don't like the attention. I'm not used to it. So I'm a little off balance here, and anyone can tell you all of this is just not me.
Corporal Goodyear has gotten all kinds of national recognition from her heroic acts, including a governor's citation from Governor Hogan and citations from state and local government. In the end, she says she was just doing her job.
That was Lowell Melser reporting. Corporal Goodyear went on to say that in her 15 years on the job, no car had ever gotten that close to the crosswalk. Still to come on Currents News.
When that interception came through, it was pretty fun to see all the sisters get excited.
The Bengals may be the underdog, but they've got a group of nuns rooting them all the way to the Super Bowl. And even the archbishops of Los Angeles and Cincinnati are getting in on the action, all in good fun and for a good cause, too. Their prayers were answered. The Bengals are Super Bowl bound, and among their cheering squad are a group of Texas nuns. Amen, Sister Mary. That video went viral after the Bengals won the AFC Conference Championship game. Sister Mary Mediatrix in the Diocese of Corpus Christi has been praying for this win for quite some time, and she joins us now. And Sister Mary, just by watching that video, I can feel the excitement in that room. Take us back to that moment. You know, what's going through your mind?
Well, I mean, that overtime was a pretty dramatic finish. So when the Chiefs won the extra, to receive the ball, I was like, this game is not over. So we just kept stepping up our prayers, praying to the angels to help the guys out. And then when that interception came through, it was just unbelievable. I was like, okay, that's it. We're going to win. And so just the ecstatic response at the end. And it was pretty fun to see all the sisters get excited too. I mean, 2 of us are from Cincinnati, but then the whole crowd got involved and we're all emotionally excited for us too.
Yeah, that's awesome. I was going to ask you, you live in Cowboys country. How are you a fan of the Bengals, but you're from there? So how did you get those other Texas nuns to put on those Bengals jerseys?
I think just our joy and excitement, in that situation, that fraternal charity and the spirit of it all. I think they just saw how happy we were, and so they just wanted to join in that. And so now they're all excited to watch the game with us on Sunday, too.
You know, the Bengals are considered the underdogs this Sunday. They've never won a Super Bowl, and it's been decades since they've gotten to one. But they persevered. You know, we can all learn something from them, right?
Right, exactly. And that's one of the things I've been thinking about with this team that's just been something to admire is just they're steadfast, one game at a time, living in the present moment and persevering. And you know, those are just virtues applicable to our own life and our spiritual life too. Just like every day we do our daily duty, you know, and follow the will of God. But when you hear Joe Burrow in some of the different interviews, it's like, we just want to win the next game. You know, it's not reaching down the road, but one game at a time.
Speaking of Joe Burrow, my husband's a huge sports fan. He told me today, he's like, he's so calm under pressure. I mean, he's so young. He's 25 years old. He's an Ohio native. This was really his first full year as quarterback. So what do you think of him?
Right. Oh, he's just a great guy, and we're happy to have him on the team. And it is kind of neat to see that he is from Ohio. So even before he was signed, people were just cheering for Joe to join the team, and they've been welcoming him from the start. And I think, again, that's another attribute to this team is just the fraternal spirit of the team. And you see how the guys, Joe said on an interview recently that he can sit down and have lunch with anybody on his team and enjoy a good conversation. And I think that plays out on the field then, that they've got each other's backs and they're one with each other. You know, in our SALT community, we serve as priests, sisters, and laity as a team to do our missionary work. And so it's kind of like another virtue that we try to embrace and live out. And you see it on the football field, and then it's successful for them. So praise God.
So you have something in common with Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
As I'm sure you're aware, in 2019, the Bengals had a 2-14 season, and now here they are headed to the Super Bowl. So do you have any advice for New York football fans? You know, how do we keep the faith? I know, especially for Jets fans, is there a certain prayer we should be saying?
Well, someone mentioned to me yesterday that the Bengals and the Jets had the same odds of winning this year, and look at where we are. So, I mean, with the different elements, there is, you know, that come together to make a winning team and a combination. It is backed by prayer because all the glory goes back to God, and all the gifts and the talents of the guys on the field, it goes back to God. So just keep hoping, and look at here we are, how many years later, but never winning a Super Bowl, but hopefully we will this weekend.
Right. We'll pray for you since we don't have a team in the game. Sister Mary, Mediatrix of the Diocese of Corpus Christi. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you. God bless.
Sister Mary isn't the only one anxiously awaiting Sunday's game. The Archbishops of Los Angeles and Cincinnati have a Super Bowl bet. The friendly wager between Archbishop Jose Gomez of Los Angeles and Archbishop Dennis Schnurr of Cincinnati involves sweets and baked goods. If the Rams lose, Archbishop Gomez will send baked goods from LA's Porto's Bakery to Cincinnati. If the Bengals lose, a crate of Grater's ice cream will be sent to the City of Angels. Both archbishops are also donating money. They gave $1,000 each to the Catholic Education Fund. The winning NFL team's archdiocese will receive 60% of the pot. And the archbishops are encouraging you to get in on the fun. Just go to bishopsbiggame.com and click Give Today in the upper right-hand corner. Your donation will be made in the name of the team you're rooting for. And finally tonight, St. John's University honored 2 fallen heroes at their game Tuesday night. Dominique Lazuriaga receiving a standing ovation as the Queens Catholic University team honored NYPD heroes Jason Rivera and Wilbert Mora during their game at Madison Square Garden. The two were fatally shot during a domestic call in Harlem, January 21st. Detective Rivera was a big basketball fan. He was not only a 4-year member of his high school's team, but he later became the student manager. And that is Currents News. I'm Christine Persichetti. Thank you for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time.